What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts on the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad Desai. And Tad, I think we're getting to a coach that LAFB Network will be really happy about in today's episode, because we're getting to, I think I talked about this when we did our Robert Quinn episode. Our Dan Quinn episode.
Robert Quinn. I was about to say, we did a whole episode of Robert Quinn.
No, we did not do a whole episode on Robert Quinn. We did an episode on Dan Quinn. My mistake, mixing up my Quins there.
They're not even similar.
I know. They're not similar at all. Well, they did both play defensive line, so I will give that sort of a note there.
Literally all they have in common.
Yeah, it's still something. But I think I said, outside of Dan Quinn, I think today's coach and Jim Harbaugh probably has the longest deep dive when it comes to our coaching history segment when we're doing our deep dives here with all the new head coaches. So this should be a fun one. He's got a pretty extensive history, both as a player and as a coach. So, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun to get into it. But yeah, we're giving it our fantasy spin. We're giving you this insider knowledge as far as how we feel the Chargers are going to look and who's going to benefit, and really just, getting you prepped for your fantasy football drafts. And so, yeah, this should be a good episode today.
He's a weird dude. He's a weird.
You're telling me
guy. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, no, that's very true. This is going to be a very Murr heavy episode because you know him much better than I did. This was the easiest research I had to do because I was like, Murr will know.
Well, considering you like Michigan, and obviously he coached at Michigan, which is like what, your 10th favorite college football team? Like, I mean, it's just like, yeah.
Actually, shit, that's a good point. Do I like Michigan more than SMU? Yeah. It's my second favorite college team. But, well, I don't know. Do I like Michigan more than Missouri? Man, I do have a lot of college teams, don't I?
I know.
Wow.
Seriously.
Yeah, well, but yes, no, it's going to be interesting because, not only like just personality wise is he weird, his coaching strategy is really weird too, but it works.
It does work.
That's the weirdest thing about it is like, this shouldn't work, but it does.
It definitely does. You know what also works, Tad, is partnering with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy, because, I mean, they're just your number one source when you're trying to get into sports betting. I mean, they're trying to innovate, and they're always up to date, and probably the best betting site that I think me and Tad have ever used. I think I mentioned this on a few episodes now, but before, it used to be all you had to do is make between 2 and 5 different prop bet picks, depending on the picks that you made, the more money you can win. But now they have extended it to compete, like I said, stay innovative and stay at the forefront. Now you can make anywhere between 2 and 8 different prop bet picks. So yeah, more potential money in your pocket. And they shared with us a great promo code that we want to share with all of you guys. Use the promo code DESAI, DESAI. You could double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500. Get into the action right before the NFL season. We still got a couple months before that happens, but you can bet on the MLB. You can bet on the NBA playoffs. That's looking like it may be one-sided. I don't know about that.
I'm in Dallas. I don't want the sniper to get me.
So I'm very curious to see how that will play out. You can bet on that. You can bet on the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. That's looking a little one-sided as well. So I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. You got the T20 World Cup for cricket going on. You got MMA. You got boxing. I mean, there's a lot of things you can betting on. Like I said, anywhere between 2 and 8 different prop bet picks, and you can win yourself some potential money. If you use that promo code DESAI, DESAI, you could double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500. Hypothetically, Tad, if you were to put in that max amount, $500, using our promo code, you could bet with up to $1,000 on their betting site. The website's really easy to use. Their apps are really easy to use, both on Apple devices as well as Android devices. So, I mean, it's a really great app and a really great, software for betting and, a little bit of fantasy action as well, but just a really innovative app and website, like I said, it's a great place that, one of our favorite sponsors I think we've ever had on this podcast. And so, yeah, get in on the action on Underdog Fantasy.
And the thing I like about them so much is that not just this great deal, because like you said, you put in $500 on your first deposit, and then you get all that same amount basically free to bet. But their odds are so better friendly too. It's not like something crazy. Like, let's say, I don't know who the hell the Phillies are playing tonight, but let's say like it was like
Boston. Phillies playing Boston today.
Okay, perfect. So let's say like almost said another competitor. Let's say another competitor I almost said Bovada there. I'll say it. But let's say their odds are like Bryce Harper over under 2.5 hits. That's a tough bet. Like I could see that one going either way. But Underdog gives you like over under 1.5 hits. I'm taking the over on that, especially against Boston. Like, come on. Yeah. So and that's the thing too, is like their odds are not meant to screw you over. They're meant to help you. So especially if you hit 8 of those, that payoff, especially if you use the promo code below, is going to be huge. So as Amir said, that Underdog promo code, DECIDE, D as in David, E, S as in Sam, A-I. I do this a lot for my mom. She finds it as funny as I think anyone else does.
Yeah, let's stop it there. But let's get into today's episode here. Like I said, this is going to be an LAFB Network favorite. We're going into Jim Harbaugh, the new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. And I mean, yeah, like I said, very extensive history. So we're going to try to go through this as quick as we can. Started as a player. He is quarterback out of Michigan, drafted in the first round by the Chicago Bears back in 1980.
I did not know he was a first-round pick until we did this research. That's crazy.
In 1987, he later played for your Indianapolis Colts. Yes, He's also a member of the Baltimore Ravens, the San Diego Chargers, and the Carolina Panthers. He was also on the practice squad for the Detroit Lions, although he didn't officially play in a game for them. He made the Pro Bowl in 1995 and was also named the NFL Comeback Player of the Year that same year. Inducted into the Colts Ring of Honor in 2005. Overall, his career stats, he threw for 26,288 passing yards, 129 passing touchdowns, 117 interceptions, and posted a win-loss record of 83-94. So,
I'm sorry, that's pathetic. That is not Ring of Honor. That is pathetic. That's so sad that he made the Ring of Honor with those. That's Joe Namath shit right there.
But also, here's a curious thing, or a very interesting thing, I should say, more specifically, is that while he was still playing in the NFL, he was a NCAA certified unpaid assistant coach under his father, Jack Harbaugh, during his time at Western Kentucky University. So he helped scout and recruit athletes in the Florida, Indiana, and Illinois regions, along with being an offensive consultant. So, I mean, while he was still playing, he was helping his dad out with scouting and bringing players to Western Kentucky to be hilltoppers.
Damn it! That was going to be my question. Damn it!
You can't question me on that one. They have such an infamous logo. Like, that was just remembered by everybody, especially the ones they did last year.
What's the purple guy at McDonald's? What's his name?
Oh, Grimace.
Grimace. It's like a red Grimace, basically.
It's very much like a red Grimace, 100%. After he retired from the NFL, I'm talking about Jim Harbaugh, not Grimace here. After he retired from the NFL in 2002, he joined the Oakland Raiders. They were the then Oakland Raiders. Joined their coaching staff under Bill Callahan as a quarterbacks coach. Helped coach Rich Gannon to become an NFL MVP in 2002 and helped him make the Pro Bowl in 2003. Also was a member of that 2002 Super Bowl team that eventually lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their first ever win in franchise history. After the 2003 season, Harbaugh went back to the college level to take a head coaching job with the University of San Diego. So not San Diego State University.
That's where I thought Josh Johnson went to San Diego. I swear to God, I thought Josh Johnson was a San Diego State Aztec before this episode. I was like, really? It was San Diego? And honestly,
University of San Diego.
Hand to God, I think even Madden got that wrong because that's where I learned where most of these players go to college. Yep. And I'm telling you, I swear by my horrible, horrible memory that they said San Diego State for Josh Johnson. So I blame that.
It's very possible.
It's EA. Like, how much effort did they really put in?
But yeah, University of San Diego, the Toreros, not the Aztecs of San Diego State
Toreros.
University.
Okay.
He had an overall coaching record of 29-6 in 3 seasons, including going 11-1 during the 2005-2006 seasons. Both of those seasons, they won the Pioneer Football League championship. He coached future NFL journeyman, he already brought up, Josh Johnston, who became a member of his team when he later jumped to the NFL. And Josh Johnson's one of 2 draftees out of the University of San Diego. Tad, we already discussed this before we recorded, but who is that other guy who was drafted from the University of San Diego?
Jamal Agnew, cornerback, 5th round pick. Do you know what he's most well known for?
That one, you asked me this, and I really didn't have an idea, so I don't remember what Jamal Agnew is famous for.
He broke Antonio Cromartie's record for the longest play in NFL history. He did a kick 6 for 109 yards back for a touchdown.
Interesting. Okay, I did not know that. So there you go. You got some history there from
Which,
the
by the way,
University of San Diego.
if you want to feel old, the Auburn guy who did the kicks, the most famous kick 6, his son is now enrolled at Auburn.
That's just insane.
It's ridiculous.
So with the success at the University of San Diego, Harbaugh stayed on the West Coast. He was able to come up here to the Bay Area, and he took the head coaching job with Stanford from the 2007 season through the 2010 season, went 29-21 during his time at Stanford, appeared in 2 bowl games, the Sun Bowl in 2009 and the Orange Bowl in 2010, ranked as high as 14th in 2009, but they finished in the 4th rank in AP voting in 2010, while also winning the Orange Bowl. That was the first ever. He helped coach the first ever 11-win regular season in Stanford history during that 2010 season when they went to the Orange Bowl, coached the likes of Doug Baldwin, Richard Sherman, Kobe Fleener, Zach Ertz,
That's a great one.
Toby Gerhart, and groomed Andrew Luck to become a future first overall pick by your Indianapolis.
Well earned. Also, for our viewers, if you're not familiar, what year was that? 2009, 2010 Orange Bowl?
2010 Orange Bowl.
Maybe the second best college game I've ever seen.
Okay. Good to know.
Such a great game. Also, if you want just even if you don't want to watch the whole game, a sideline reporter basically had to say that Justin Blackman, how about that for a throwback name? Yes. Justin Blackman played in that game, but he overcame an STD. They were like, yeah, he has a rash like inside his thighs. And everybody was like, okay, so he has herpes.
You got to skirt around it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was comedy gold.
So his success at Stanford led to him being a highly sought-after coach for the NFL ranks, which included the local team, the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers ended up hiring Jim Harbaugh just 4 days after winning the Orange Bowl in 2010 to become the next head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. And Tad, I don't know if you remember this, but his first year as head coach for the San Francisco 49ers, that was the strike year when they were trying to figure out the collective bargaining agreement. So a lot of players and lots of teams were sort of behind the 8 ball, including my 49ers during that time, where it's just like, okay, how is Harbaugh going to implement the system? What's going to happen? Are these players going to be able to adjust? Like, how's his first season going to look? Well, all he did was take the 49ers to the NFC Championship game in his first year, compiled a 13-3 record, and got the number 2 seed in the playoffs. He won the NFL Coach of the Year and featured in that season the first ever game in NFL history where 2 brothers coached against each other on opposite sidelines. They played on Thanksgiving. I remember specifically, Tad, I was in Disneyland for that game, and I was like, yo, we're going to stop hanging out. We're going to go watch this game. It ended up being a bit of a snooze fest. I think there was only 1 touchdown between both teams in that game. And just, it was still a little bit of history to see that happen between both John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh, both play against each other in Thanksgiving. Harbaugh is also praised for his reclamation project. We talked about Andrew Luck already being sort of a promising quarterback, but he was able to take the reclamation project of Alex Smith, turn him into a quality quarterback.
That's true. That's why the Chiefs wanted him.
That's part of the reason, exactly. And then the next season, they got over the hump in the next season, 2013. He took the 49ers to the Super Bowl to face his brother's team of the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, they did lose that game, 34-31. But he was praised once again for his, ascension or the ascension of Colin Kaepernick. We got the Kaepernick phenomenon happening for a long time after losing Alex Smith to a concussion midway through the season. So, to take another quarterback and sort of get him to the height that he needed to get to take us to the Super Bowl, that's sort of saying something for sure.
And to be fair, you guys would have won that had Ray Lewis not turned the lights out.
Yeah, that was a very interesting Super Bowl for sure. That was just fantastic. But yeah, loss was not what I was hoping for. But hey, we got it close. We came back
Well,
there.
Super Bowl
Um,
losses, you should be used to that by now.
Oh God, really, really. He was able to take the 49ers in the NFC Championship game back in 2014 as well. Was not able to get past his old college football rival in Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. Unfortunately, though, with disagreements with the front office and the ownership and just over personnel decisions, he only lasted one more year through the 2014 season, and he returned back to the college levels to coach his alma mater in the Michigan Wolverines. He coached the Michigan Wolverines for 9 seasons, was able to make a bowl game in every single season, Tad, with the exception of the 2020 season. Problem was he only won 2 of those bowl games, which is sort of saying something. It's like, you got to the bowl game, but could you have won it? No, unfortunately, they didn't do that. They technically got to 3 in 9 seasons. He won the 2015 Citrus Bowl, and then, of course, last season won the national title game, the 2023 Rose Bowl, and then, of course, won the national title game as well. Racked up an 89-25 win-loss record during his time in Michigan. Coach future not Hall of Famers, but
I was about to say Hall of Famer. You're calling your shot here.
Some of these guys are on the track there. I could probably say that, but these are future NFL players in the NFL. He coached Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, Jabril Peppers, Jake Butt, Taco Charlton, Maurice Hurst, John Runyon, Graham Glasgow, Devin Bush, Rashawn Gary, Nico Collins, and Cesar Ruiz. I mean, that's just a short list. There's probably a lot of other guys that I left off this list, but now he takes his talents to Los Angeles to coach the Los Angeles Chargers and see if he could sort of get more out of Justin Herbert. That's sort of been his pedigree and his stops in Stanford, obviously San Diego, and of course in San Francisco. So yeah, this should be interesting times to see what the Chargers got with Harbaugh here.
He's taking his talents to West Beach.
West Beach, yeah, exactly.
Is that, do people actually call it that? I have no idea.
They definitely do not.
Okay, yeah. West Beach, South Beach has a better. It rolls off the tongue better.
Of course, it easily,
reason. Yeah. No, I mean, you did such a good job of recapping his history that I don't have much to say except, are you ready for this?
What's that?
And for our listening audience, this is not a bit. He actually has no idea what's coming.
I don't.
I have a top 5 weirdest Jim Harbaugh moments.
Okay.
This should be fun.
This should be fun. Yeah.
Great. Okay. At number 5.
I'm curious if you have one of my favorite moments that I've ever had with Jim Harbaugh.
I'm so excited for number 1. I don't know if you know number 1. And if
we'll see. But yeah, let's hear it.
It's an incredible story.
I'm assuming you're starting at 5, right? Let's go with 5.
Yeah. Let's count down. Number 5. He gave the Pope a pair of Jordans and a Michigan helmet.
I remember this. I remember seeing this on ESPN somewhere. Yeah.
While playing catch, well, like not at the same time, but on that same trip, he played a game of catch with his players in the middle of Rome. That was an actual thing that happened.
Yeah. No, I do remember this.
And number 4. So not the scandal he got in trouble for, which was, the spying scandal. But last year he got in some hot water because he illegally paid for some recruits' breakfast.
Okay.
I don't know if you read this. So
I don't remember this one.
At like 9, 10 a.m., something like that, he took like 3 recruits out to a diner.
Okay.
And all he did was he covered their breakfast.
Sure.
That was it. And it was a violation. And everyone was like, this is kind of bullshit. So he just got like a slap on the wrist.
Right.
Well, because the NCAA investigated, the receipt went, was public.
Yeah.
So, other recruits got, breakfast platters, eggs, whatever. He, at 9 or 10 a.m., got a hamburger.
Nice.
Who eats a hamburger at 9 a.m. in the morning?
That's actually funny you should say that because I remember back when I was in junior high, we had a band trip. And so on the way to a concert, we stopped at a Burger King. And this was in the morning. So we stopped at a Burger King for breakfast before we went to the concert. And yeah, there was a member of the band who didn't like breakfast foods, which is surprising. But yeah, so he asked, can I get a Whopper? And they made it for him. But yeah, it's weird that people don't like breakfast food. But yeah, he did it. And so it's strange for sure. But yeah, probably not the strangest thing I've heard Jim Harbaugh do.
Okay. One key difference, though. That was a child. Jim Harbaugh is a man. He's 40.
Still.
He's probably older than 40, but whatever.
Yes.
All right. We actually have a tie at 3.
Okay.
At number 3. He challenged a walrus to a push-up competition and won.
Oh my God, I don't remember this one at all.
There was a team trip to Six Flags where a walrus was trained to do push-ups. So his natural instinct was to challenge said walrus to a push-up contest and
Yeah.
then bragged about beating said walrus.
Oh my God. I don't remember that one, but that's good. That's good.
Well, you definitely remember the one that number 3 is tied for. All I need to say is simply the Jim Schwartz handshake.
Yes, of
The
course.
Jim Schwartz handshake. Come on. That's got to make the list of like,
Yep,
what
definitely.
a weird thing to get that angry about.
I guess that's more Jim Schwartz than Jim Harbaugh, though, right? Because Jim Harbaugh was just happy about the win, and then Jim Schwartz just took it in the wrong way, and it was just like, okay.
Yeah, but then like Harbaugh could just be like, "Oh, sorry," but like, no, they both like started yelling at each other.
No,
like, it was
I
weird.
know.
It was
It was a
very
very
weird.
chippy contest overall. So I mean, it's like you see some of the tensions, anyways, but just that just like, as they say, the straw that broke the camel's back sort of thing. So, but just I remember that specifically. Yep.
All right, no, fair enough. All right, number 2. This one's just my God. In 2007, as you recapped, was his first year at Stanford. Well, apparently one of his defensive players got cut during the game and was bleeding. So Harbaugh's reaction, and I looked up, there is picture proof of this. His instinct was to take that player's blood, smear it over his face like war paint, and he wore his player's blood for the entire game.
Gross.
It was so weird. I didn't believe it. I literally
don't remember this at all.
God help the FBI agent that is watching me, because I typed in Jim Harbaugh blood, and the first result is him like with the you know how like players do like the triangle eye black? Yeah. He basically did that with this player's blood.
Yeah, that is no, I don't like that at all. All
right, I've got a tie for number 1. Are you ready?
Sure.
So the less exciting number 1, you mentioned how he got to 3 bowl games, but he only won 2 of them. Number 1 Jim Harbaugh moment, losing to TCU in the 2022 Fiesta Bowl, baby. Let's go Frogs.
Yeah.
All right, but the true number 1, this is amazing. I could not believe this was real, but this actually happened. Jim Harbaugh punched Hall of Famer Jim Kelly in the face and broke his hand. Do you not know the story?
Is this when he was a player, or is this like when he was a player? Now?
Oh,
wow. Okay, yeah. No, I definitely don't remember this then.
All right, let me tell you about it. So 1997, Jim Harbaugh is the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts.
Right.
They start 0-7.
Okay.
So on a radio show in Buffalo, Jim Kelly, who this is his first year out of football, he had just retired.
Okay.
His first year out of football, he's on a radio show in Buffalo and says that basically calls him a baby. He's like, Jim Harbaugh, like, the player should go after him, like hit him in the chin strap. He'll be shaking, all this shit. Well, at the same time, Jim Kelly was also a broadcaster. So Jim, like a week or 2 later, Jim Kelly was broadcasting a game against the then San Diego Chargers and the Indianapolis Colts. Well, Harbaugh obviously heard those comments and wasn't too happy. Okay. So during an NBC production meeting, Harbaugh came in uninvited, demanded to talk to Jim Kelly about the comments. They walked into the room. Kelly, credit where it's due, did not back off his take. So Jim Harbaugh punched him in the face, broke his hand, and missed the following 4 games for the Indianapolis Colts to lead them to 0-11. Here's the best part. Do you want to know who the Colts drafted the next year after they landed the number 1 overall pick?
Well, Peyton Manning, because you said 1990.
Jim Harbaugh, thank you so much for Peyton Manning. Without Jim Harbaugh, Peyton Manning may have never been a Colt.
Maybe even with Jim Harbaugh, if they started 0-7, like maybe that was inevitable.
Yeah, apparently that was
just inevitable.
Yes, no, Jim Harbaugh.
Oh yes, that does help when
you
starting quarterback goes out. Yeah.
Yep, Hall of Famer Jim Kelly in the face.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. No, my favorite moment's not really a story like that, and you probably only know about it if you're a Niners fan, is that they were talking about the Thanksgiving game between Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh. So great. And I remember they were just talking about, they're trying to like stir up some like controversy and just like, oh, is it a big deal if you beat your brother? Like all this stuff, and like people, media talking all this stuff. So I remember specifically, he said these exact words. He's just like, that's a bunch of gobble gobble turkey from a bunch of jive turkey gobblers.
Yeah, I believe that.
I swear to God, I remember this to this day because I went to a local trivia where they're doing Niners trivia. So I went with a good friend of mine, and you best believe my team name was Jive Turkey Gobbler.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. And no, people believe me, like just Google Jim Harbaugh weird moments. I had to cut out so many. He did one Michigan practice completely shirtless. That was OLI outside looking in. That almost made the cut. What else? He like did a proposal to a recruit where the recruit was going to prom.
I remember that one. I remember that one.
Yeah. It's like there are a lot of moments where I was like, "Ooh, that might make the cut."
I feel like we need to have a separate podcast of like who has weirder moments, Jim Harbaugh or Zach Greinke from the MLB. It'd be too close to call.
Not even just like episode, just podcast.
Yeah,
just like that's
you probably fill a whole podcast for sure. But yeah, Greinke versus Harbaugh would be so interesting to compare stories like that. But we'll save all that for our future podcast or future series or whatever we're going to do there. But let's sort of get into, like I said, the meat of this podcast where it's just like, let's get into the coaching style now. So it's like the coaching history is fantastic. We all know about all that. But I think, getting to the coaching style to figure out just, what sort of fantasy players can we expect to have good seasons from this offense. And I think just there's a couple universal truths out there, right? So one of them, Austin Powers' favorite movie is In Like Flint. Second one, Jim Harbaugh likes to run the football. Like, I mean, that's just a clear universal truth. Every single place that he's been, that's just something he likes to.
I'm gonna interrupt you because you are correct. Those are two universal truths. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. There is a third one though. Austin Powers' dad only hates two types of people in the world. Who are they?
People who are tolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch. So good. But yeah, I mean, it's just really easy to sort of see what sort of offense he's going to bring here to Los Angeles. It's just, they're going to run the ball. Like, I mean, that's exactly what it is. He brought his former offensive coordinator back into the fold too. Greg Roman is offensive coordinator here. So, I mean, just, if you look at the time during his NFL stint with the San Francisco 49ers, they ranked 3rd, 7th, 3rd, and then 9th in the 4 years that Jim Harbaugh was the head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. In conjunction, the Niners ranked 2nd, 1st, and 4th in fewest passing attempts. So, I mean, it's just like, clearly they're focusing on one side of the ball instead of the other when it comes to that offense. Big thing I will mention, though, that is the caveat, which I'm curious to see how this will play into this year's offense with Harbaugh, is that the Niners never had a quarterback at the level of Justin Herbert's caliber. So, I mean, that's going to be a big thing because it's like I talked about, Alex Smith was a reclamation project. He was the former number 1 overall pick, went through too many offensive coordinator changes. Now he got stability there.
Wasn't as good.
Exactly. It's just like, then you're able to build him up, and he was very serviceable. I think he was a very good quarterback, and I still stand by this belief. But if Alex Smith had started that Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens, we would have won that Super Bowl. But that's a story for a separate day.
Interesting.
But still, like, Colin Kaepernick was not just at Herbert's level. Alex Smith is not just at Herbert's level. So, I mean, just this is clearly he's on a separate plane. So I'm curious to see how that will be involved in this offense. And so I'm not going to say that he doesn't enjoy passing the ball, though, because, I mean, during his time in San Francisco, he's produced a 1,000-yard receiving threat in 3 of the 4 seasons that he was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. I think just the big thing is just the style of receiver. So he's not going to get a 1,000-yard season from your deep threat guys like a Deshaun Jackson, like a Tyreek Hill. It's like, I think they could succeed, but the type of player that succeeded in this type of offense was those position-type skilled route runners. And so it's like, you look at the 2 guys that succeeded the most during his time in San Francisco. Anquan Boldin was there during San Francisco time, so he had great seasons there.
I forgot Anquan Boldin was a Niner.
It's very reminiscent of, it didn't work out the same way, but Kevin Durant joining the Warriors after the Warriors lost the Super Bowl. The Ravens won the Super Bowl. Anquan Boldin was a member of the Ravens.
I was just about to ask that. If he went Ravens tonight, I was just about to ask that.
The very same offseason, he went to the Niners the very next one, and he was a Niner for them. And then also, remember, how about this throwback? Michael Crabtree succeeded in this offense as well.
That's a great I stopped playing it now, but what, Football Grid, or what was it called?
Immaculate Grid.
Immaculate Grid. Michael Crabtree's great for that.
Yeah. I expected so much more from him. Like,
everybody
where we drafted him and just the college season that he had, I was just like,
dude, this that catch against Texas, that's legendary.
Exactly. I was just like, he's going to be the next big thing. It just, he had a very good season. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, good career.
Not the level that I expected, especially just how heralded he was coming out of Texas Tech. I was like, oh my God, this guy's.
I remember when you guys drafted him, I was like, God damn it. Because that's when the Rams were still in St. Louis.
Yep.
And it made me even more mad because that was the same year you guys, how about this for a throwback, signed Isaac Bruce. And so
Yes, I
it's like
do remember
Isaac
that.
Bruce is about to mentor Michael
Gonna teach
Crabtree.
him.
I'm
Yep,
like,
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I do remember that. So you look at those two types of guys, Anquan Bolt and Michael Crabtree. They were very nuanced route runners. They're very possession guys that can sort of break some tackles and get some yards that way. So you look at Los Angeles right now. You look at some players that I think could sort of benefit from this passing style of offense. This West Coast is extending the run game. You look at guys like Hayden Hurst at the tight end position. You look at like Lad McConkey, the rookie. I mean, I was a huge fan of his to begin with, but him landing in this offense, I think he's best suited for that. And then you, of course, get Brandon Rice, who slid all the way to the 7th round. Like, I think that's a
shocking.
steal for the Chargers. Like, that's
Really
fantastic.
pissing off Jerry Rice, by the way.
Oh,
I don't know
believe
if
me.
you
Yeah,
saw
you
that.
best believe that Jerry Rice is going to coach him and be like, all right, you're going to prove everybody wrong being a 7th
He
round
was
pick.
mad.
So that is fantastic. And that's great for the Chargers to get that sort of mentor to coach up your, rookie prospect there. And so it's just like I said, I think this passing offense is built as an extension of the running game. And so I think you got those intermediate passes, very West Coast style, just going to, do enough to get you the ball down the field. And then maybe every so often you got those big home run plays. But Tad, I know I was looking at your notes. You got some notes of during Greg Roman's time in Baltimore that I think could carry over here in this offense.
It was funny because at the time when they hired Greg Roman, I was like, why? But then when I saw your stats, I was like, oh, that's why. Because they both think the same way. Because for those of you who are like, Greg Roman, God, that sounds familiar. He was the guy that got fired because he wasn't doing enough with Lamar Jackson. That was the big complaint with him in Baltimore, was like, unleash Lamar. And he was just like, no, let's keep him. Now, to be fair, Lamar was healthier under Greg Roman. So like, I'm not saying he's completely wrong there. But now let me read off some stats here. Well, first off, with the Harbaugh approach, because you mentioned earlier in the episode, I am a Michigan fan. My entire family full of Michigan fans. I'm sorry, Chargers fans. There's a good chance you guys are going to be boring as shit to watch, because it was funny. I called my dad after Michigan won the national championship, and because they haven't done so since 98 or something, which I have a story about that I'll tell on another episode. But I thought my dad would be like really elated, and he was just kind of like, meh. And I think it's just because this team was so boring. I didn't watch a full Michigan game until they reached the playoffs, because it was just like, yeah, run it. It's very much not like, kind of, and this is going to be a funny comparison in a bit. It's not like a Sean McVay type where it's like, air it out. We're going to risk it for the biscuit type of thing. Is that old to say?
No risk it, no biscuit. That's Bruce Arians, though.
No, it's risk it for the biscuit.
No, it's no risk it, no biscuit.
It's risk it for the biscuit.
No.
It is absolutely risk it for the biscuit.
I swear to God, that's what it was. That's what Bruce Arians said.
You know what?
Maybe the term is exactly what you said, but that's what Bruce Arians said. No risk
okay,
it, no
all right.
biscuit.
No, that's fair. That is a fair caveat to put on it, but we're going to put it on the poll. By the way, follow us on Twitter right below. See, I'm already doing the reads early. Wow, I actually nailed that timing for once. But anyway, point being is risk it for the biscuit, or no risk it for biscuit, whatever the hell Bruce Arians is saying. It's all about controlling the game, controlling the tempo. And it's not the most exciting thing, but like we said, it shouldn't work in today's NFL, where like air it out wins you games, but somehow it's worked.
And Tad, before you go further into your analysis here, like the one thing that I will say that was interesting when Harbaugh first came to the NFL in San Francisco was that, yes, it was an old school approach, but you saw a lot of motion. You saw a lot of like different blocking tendencies, but that's widespread across the NFL. So it's like what you're seeing now in the NFL, it's like nothing's going to be new from what we're seeing with Harbaugh. Whereas at the time, that was very different. So a lot of teams didn't expect that's like, oh, this guard is going to pull here, and this fullback, and he was implementing the fullback very similar to Kyle Shanahan was doing, but it's like he's going to do this. The tight end's going to do this motion and block here. So it's just like you saw a lot of different things during that time with Harbaugh in San Francisco. But now you see a lot of this with Sean McVay. You see a lot of this with Kyle Shanahan. You see these sort of like motions and like, fake blocks to lead to other blocks. So it's like that sort of innovation is going to be gone too. So yeah, like you said, it may be a little boring.
We just talked about that with Cliff Kingsbury with the fake blocks and like blocks layered on top of each other. That was Cliff's, go-to. And also that's what I call the Nikola Tesla effect, where he's like, hey, check this out. Yeah. And then all of a sudden everybody else kind of caught up, and, Nikola Tesla died penniless. And it was just like, oh, so can the innovator keep up? But this is what I was referring to earlier is new Los Angeles Rams running back Blake Corum, who I was convinced he was going to be a Charger. has said recently, I love this quote, that Sean McVay and Jim Harbaugh are, quote, polar opposites.
Yeah,
which is
that's
excellent.
putting
Like,
it very plain and simple. Yeah.
I saw that quote and I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't read the article. I was just like, yep, that tracks. It's like, that makes sense. So anyway, but going in Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator hires. So he was Baltimore's offensive coordinator from 2019 to 2022. Now tell me these stats don't sound very similar to the stats you shared with the 49ers. So these are passing attempts per game for the Baltimore Ravens. In 2019, 32nd. 2020, 32nd. 2021, 9th. Not entirely sure what happened there. That was kind of weird. Lamar Jackson did.
Was that the year Lamar Jackson got hurt? And so that's why I think we saw the Tyler Huntley and all that. Yeah, I think that's probably why.
So Lamar Jackson he only played in 12 games that year.
Yeah, that makes sense. A little bit more intense.
And if memory serves, they were also they were making like a playoff push. So I think like they had kind of like, pass a little bit more.
Tyler Huntley started a playoff game for
I'm pretty sure that was the same year. And then 2022, don't worry, they got right back down there to 28th. Now, here's the craziest thing. This is their rushing attempts in that span. 2019, first.
Yep.
2020, first. 2021, third. 2022, seventh. They love to run the ball. Like, that's why it's like, it's going to be interesting to see, like, if the run game doesn't work, because I have my doubts about the Chargers run game. Are you going to be able to abandon it? Because I was Greg Roman. I distinctly remember, like, that was the big frustration with Greg Roman was the lack of creativity.
Yes.
But at the same time, like we've been saying all episode, Harbaugh kind of makes it work. So it's going to be a very interesting marriage between him and Roman, but I definitely understand the Greg Roman hire now because it's like, yeah, you are just, you are two peas in a pod, man.
Well, you also have to remember that during his time in San Francisco, Roman was the OC there too. So it's like the correlation makes complete sense because it's the same guy.
I mean, we've been saying this every deep dive is that, like, and for lack of a better word, NFL football coaching is very incestuous. I'm just like, if I've worked with this dude in the past, I'm hiring him in some degree. And it's just like, okay, if you think so.
Yeah, and it sort of just makes a lot more sense as to why at number 5 overall, the Chargers went with Joe Alt, because it's like, this is what Harbaugh wants to do. And what Roman wants to do is like establish that run game and then work off of that. So it's like, yeah, it may be, like you said, a little boring. It may not be super exciting. You're not going to see this Miami offense where it's just like all these speedsters and they're running 25 miles per hour.
Forget the polar opposite of Sean McVay. He is definitely the polar opposite of Mike McDaniel.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, you're not going to see that style of offense, but I think the biggest thing that should give some optimism and some hope to the Chargers fans is just, it should be effective. Like, they should be able to stay in games, control the clock. That was the big thing that just like lead to a lot of just, especially when you play a division with Patrick Mahomes. What's the big thing that people always used to say about Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and now Patrick Mahomes? Keep them on the sideline. So if you're able to run the ball and control the clock like that, like, that's exactly what Chargers fans want, playing this guy twice a year. So it's like, this will fit the mold perfectly to play that division.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I believe on draft night, during our live stream, which, by the way, you can still check out on YouTube at the LAFB network channel. But during our live stream, I was actually, pushing for them to pick Malik Neighbors. Yeah. And I thought they were. And they went with Joe Alt. Not that I hated the pick. Even, that night I said, no, Joe Alt's a good player, good pick. But I was like, I think you should have gone Neighbors. The more I familiarize myself with Roman's offense and with Harbaugh's offense, I'm like, no, I see why you didn't pick Neighbors, because that would just be another QJ, which we'll get into in a bit. But another Quentin Johnston, where good receiver, horrible system fit. So I think that, the Joe Alt pick, that was like chef's kiss, because I think you and I both have him as our number 1 tackle, right?
Yeah, we did.
So like I said, good pick, makes a whole hell of a lot more sense now.
Exactly. So talk about players here, Tad. So let's talk about fantasy players now. So all this boils down to just, who do you think will benefit the most from this new shift in offense here with Harbaugh and Roman? And, what do you expect to sort of, who's that guy who's going to benefit the most?
This one hurts.
All right.
I really, 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 really want to go with my boy QJ, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
I think he'll improve. I think this system of offense will suit him much better. I don't think he'll get drafted at all. I think he will largely go. Yeah, I think he'll largely go undrafted. But that could be a very, very interesting waiver target that we talk about around weeks 3 or 4.
Sure.
I can't do it though, because he's more of a kind of stretch the field. Yes, he's good at the short game, but if they utilize him like they did at TCU, where he beat Harbaugh, by the way, he's a very good kind of like stretch the field. Let's create space for him. And like we've been talking about this entire episode, that's not really how this offense is going to work. This offense is going to work. And you mentioned this at the very start of the episode, through crisp route running and good slot receivers. And that is why that pick of Ladd McConkey was fucking genius, because that man was the best route runner in the entire draft.
I had a first round grade on him. I was like, he has that skill set that's like, as long as he can stay healthy, I think that's the one thing to maybe worry about a little bit there. But if he stays healthy, like, there's no doubt that he will rival, like, you know, some of the best route runners in the league right now. That's just like, he'll be able to find his way to sort of make his mark. And so, yeah, I love this pick.
I first started seeing first round grades on him, and I'm like, get the hell out of here, because this receiving class in this year's draft was just so good.
It's very good.
And then I watched his tape. I'm like, oh no, I see it. Like, I like this guy. So honestly, I think he would have been a perfect, fit for the Chiefs, but that's a separate conversation. But I think that in especially if you're in a PPR or half PPR league, I think he'll just be the more kind of go-to receiver. He'll kind of be like the Roman Wilson of the Michigan offense. Roman Wilson had a pretty solid year, but also looking at, going back to Greg Roman's offense, it's important to note that this is the guy that made the Cardinals convinced that Hollywood Brown was worth trading a first rounder for. Hollywood Brown's he's only had one 1,000-yard season in his career. It was under Greg Roman's offense. And outside of that, the other, 2 years, he only had like around 700 yards, but he never finished for less than 6 touchdowns. So he's always kind of like, there's always a receiver in play. And by the way, the reason that you're like, okay, why are these numbers impressive? Well, Hollywood Brown was battling with Mark Andrews, because this is before Mark Andrews became an injury case. So Mark Andrews was the only receiver to finish with over 1,000 yards. So actually the tight end game, I'm never going to stop doing that. The tight end case in LA is going to be very interesting to watch as well, but that's too much of an unknown for me right now. Maybe later in the season, but for now, I know they're going to depend on receiver. I know the receiver probably isn't going to get over 1,000 yards, but that receiver is going to get a fair amount of touchdowns. And I think that receiver is Ladd McConkey. I think that Quentin Johnston is going to be the leading touchdown receiver, but I think McConkey is going to be the more week in, week out dependable candidate. Right now, drafted him via bench option with definite, like, very, very solid flex potential. And I believe in him so much. Good friend of the show, Jason Davis. Shout out to you if you're watching. He's in a dynasty league, and weeks ago he drafted and he asked who should I target in the first round. McConkey was my pick.
100%. I think I exactly like the fact that you said that he's going to be the go-to guy, because like I said, he fits that mold of the type of receivers that have succeeded in Roman's and Harbaugh's offenses.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I listed out Michael Crabtree, I listed out Anquan Boldin. It's like, this is the type of player that Ladd McConkey can be too. So I don't doubt that Quentin Johnston can succeed in this offense too, but just they have to make sure, like, I mean, you said this so many times before too, that's just like, they need to use him the right way, the way that he was using at TCU. I remember we both sort of referenced that famous play. I can't remember which team it was playing. You probably remember the team, but just like, he was on the outside. He ran a 5-yard in route. They threw it to him right as he was crossing midfield. He just used his speed and goes up the sideline to score a touchdown. Like, was that against Michigan?
It was against Michigan.
Was it? See, so exactly. They used that play, just like you said. Jim Harbaugh could use the stuff.
It's my favorite TCU play of all time.
But it's just like, it's such a simple play, but just like, if you're able to use him in that way, then just like, that will make him just that much more effective. So yeah, I 100% agree. McConkey, I think, is going to be the guy that you want out of this receiver room when it comes to fantasy football from the Chargers, but Quentin Johnston can slowly creep his way up as long as they use him the right way, which I think they probably will use him the right way. So.
McConkey, prime bench candidate. Like, like absolute prime bench candidate.
Like, if this was an NBA team, Ladd McConkey would be my 6th man. Like, that's how I vision him on my fantasy roster. He's my 6th man.
I mean, they're both white guys, but yeah, he's my JJ Redick. He's my JJ Redick.
You mean future Lakers head coach JJ Redick?
But apparently, I don't know what the hell.
I don't know what's going to happen there.
A whole other podcast we could do.
I know, seriously.
But $70 million and you turn it down. Wow. But anyway, but
That
QJ, like
speaks about the Lakers more than it speaks about Dan Hurley.
I saw a picture of Pelinka on ESPN's homepage.
Yeah.
I'm like, he is still there. Like, I thought Pelinka
Yeah.
got fired like 5 years ago. But yeah, so McConkey, prime bench option. Like Amir said,
Yep.
like definitely like 6-man. Like if my flex goes down, I have no problem plugging him back in.
Easily.
QJ, top of my target list on the waivers.
100%.
Like he is definitely, it's kind of like the Predator, like with 3 little dots.
Yep.
Like, yeah, QJ, you're in my 3 little dots, buddy.
For my guy, I'm actually going to bring up, because you said you're kind of questioning just how effective this running game is going to be in Los Angeles. Well, I don't question it, because like I said, the history is there. Like, they are going to emphasize the run game. And so maybe once again, this is a situation where it's like, I picked the guy that maybe you wanted to talk about, but you kind of were left out in the cold, so you had to go in a different direction.
No,
but
you did not, because I don't trust this guy.
You don't? Okay, that's curious. But I'm going to go with the lead guy, and I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins, the running back who is now with the Los Angeles Chargers. And for me, I think this is just a great situation for Dobbins, because he's looking to sort of reclaim what was once a promising start to his NFL career. Because in his rookie year, when he was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, he ran for 805 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns in 2020. So that was only a handful of years ago. 2021 suffered a torn ACL in his left leg. 2022 suffered a knee injury, unfortunately, to the same leg in week 6, was forced to be put on injured reserve, missed the rest of that season. And then last season, Dobbins tore his Achilles, unfortunately, also in the same leg.
You're really inspiring confidence right now.
And was forced to miss the season once again. So, I mean, yes, it is not too confident of a, why am I picking this guy? But I think just you combine the fact that just he's looking to restart his career. We've always talked about, like, maybe some players just need a new situation. Just too many bad memories of Baltimore. He's just like too hesitant to sort of, am I going to get hurt on this play? Just like now he's in a new place. He's like, all right, I'm on the best coast. I'm going to be fine. Things are going to work out here in Los Angeles on a run-first team here with Jim Harbaugh. He signed a 1-year deal in Los Angeles, so it's pretty much like a 1-year prove-it deal, a contract year. I know we're both fans of that. So it's like, I think that's going to play into it too. But just, I think just the biggest thing is that Harbaugh also likes to feature one running back. I know we're sort of in this situation where it's just like all these NFL teams have multiple guys that they can rely on, but Harbaugh's not like that. He's like, I got my one guy. He is going to be my bell cow guy. Then we'll maybe sprinkle in some of the other guys just a little bit, giving them like a handful of touches, but nothing extensive where it's like, am I debating between running backs? This is not a, Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams situation. This is clearly like, this is going to be J.K. Dobbins' show. Like, I mean, I know they signed Gus Edwards to the Chargers as well as sort of like an insurance policy in case that left leg, like, all of a sudden decides to fall off. Like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's a possibility, but still, I think just I like what I see with Dobbins. I'm seeing a lot of, I know this is obviously just preseason tape and preseason hype, but it's like I'm seeing him in camp. He's looking like his usual self. He's like bowling over defenders. So it's like I'm seeing some confidence there that I didn't see previously. So I like it there. I think just like I said, the big thing is just he's going to be the bell cow. So he's going to be given all the chances to be that number one back in Los Angeles. Because if you look at his time in San Francisco, Tad, Frank Gore, the starting running back for the San Francisco 49ers, during his time at Jim Harbaugh, he had 1,071 rushing attempts in the 4 years under Jim Harbaugh. The next closest player was Kendall Hunter, who had 262 across 3 seasons with the team. Look at that disparity. Look at that disparity. Like, that is insane. So that is why I'm a big proponent of J.K. Dobbins. I think just you combine all the factors there. I think it's just a perfect situation that Dobbins will be of value. He won't be like the first running back off the board. Definitely he's not going to be that case. But I think he's going to be one of those guys that's like, you'll take a flyer on him later in the rounds. Maybe we get to like round 7 or 8, possibly. He'll still be there. That's great value for him.
He should still be there. Anyone takes him earlier than that, that's a mistake.
So I think you look at that in round 7 or 8, and that's just, like I said, just excellent value. Because if everything works out the way that I'm sort of like the optimism that I have, if everything works out the way that it should, which I think it will too, he could be an RB1. I mean, he's got that talent. He's in the right system. I think he can sort of have that sort of skill set. So, but yeah, once again, it's just like too many injuries to that left leg. I can understand a little bit of skepticism as far as like whether he's going to be healthy again this year. But like I said, I got my fingers crossed. I think it's still going to work out.
Okay, so 3 things. 1, Kendall Hunter out of what college?
Oh, you can't coach that one. Oklahoma State.
Damn it! You are getting better at this game, and I'm really not liking it.
But the problem is, if you're going to ask me a guy who is on my team, you best believe I will know that. Like, I mean, yeah, that's what for sure.
Jason Verrett. No, I'm kidding. Don't. But challenge accepted. I'm going Kyle Juszczyk because I actually don't even know this.
Harvard.
Really?
Ivy League guy. He went to Harvard. Mm-hmm.
I'm out. All right. So number 2, can you do me a favor? Go back to the top of your notes for this segment and read back those his career history to me.
Are you talking about Dobbins' history?
Yes. Yeah.
So in his rookie year, 2020, he ran for 805 rushing yards and scored 9 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
2021, suffered a torn ACL in his left leg.
Gotcha.
2022, he suffered a knee injury, the same leg, his left leg, in week 6, was forced to be put on injured reserve for the rest of the season. And then last year, Dobbins tore his Achilles on the same leg, on his left leg, and was forced to miss the season once again. So that was even before the season began.
All right, so I'm going to pull a Jim Nance here. So what we have here, my friends, is the battle of two not political, but the battle of two ideologies.
There you go. Ideologies is better.
There we go. Optimism versus pessimism. Yeah. Because you are optimistic that's going to work. I am not. I'm going pessimism here. Because
and that is the thing I'm banking on.
Really
that's the thing I'm banking on when it comes to fantasy drafts, that too many people are going to think like you, and that's just going to work in my favor. That's I'm going to be able to take a flyer on it, and it's going to work out for me. But like I said, that's more of the optimism side.
Here's the definition of boomer bust. Because notice how I wasn't like, are you insane with the RB1 prediction? Because if he stays healthy for not even the entire season, because what running back really does stay healthy for the entire season, but if he stays healthy for most of the season, I am 100% there with you. He's an RB1 because he is a good back when healthy. But the problem is that's a lot. It's not what I call Julio Jones syndrome, which is like, oh, strained hamstring, oh, pulled, calf or something like that, or, pulled groin, or, like kind of little stuff that just keeps popping up. Those are some super debilitating injuries.
They are.
And the only back I've ever seen to really bounce, and there's a great scene, for those of you who watch the league, there's an amazing scene where one of the characters is giving birth during the draft, and her husband is drafting during it. He's like, I don't know, like, do I take Adrian Peterson? And the guy, like, helping deliver the baby is like, look, no running back has ever come back from an ACL injury to be effective. And, he's just like, and taking Adrian Peterson, anything above the 5th overall pick would be irresponsible as a fantasy player and as a father. It's a great scene. But bottom line being, Adrian Peterson is the only player to have ever bounced back from that severe of an injury to be the same. So could Dobbins still be effective? 100%. Can he be, like you said, the workhorse that Harbaugh wants him to be? I have my doubts. I think Harbaugh is going to try and make it happen, and I think it's going to backfire. And I think that, or Harbaugh smartens up, doesn't use him as workhorse, and Gus Edwards, as you said, comes in. And also, let's not forget, Isaiah Spiller. I know he's been kind of a bust so far, but he's still a fairly effective backup. So I just have enough doubts to the point where he may be the biggest boomer bust prospect in fantasy football this year.
It's very fair. That's very fair. And I think we'll probably get to an episode later in the, offseason here about lottery ticket players and boomer plus players. And just, I think he's very much high on that list. But like I said, I'm leaning more towards the optimism that it could work out. But you never know. It could end up being
older than me. Aren't you supposed to be the pessimist?
Maybe, but you're getting close to there.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I envy you.
Oh, but guys, that was a lot of fun talking about Jim Harbaugh's weirdness and his offensive scheme and just the players that are going to benefit from his system when it comes to fantasy football. And guys, the series is going to continue on. We still got a handful more of coaches left to go. But in case,
3 more?
I think we got 3 more left to go. But in case you missed any of the other episodes, we've already done Dave Canales of the Panthers. We've already done Dan Quinn, not Robert Quinn. Dan Quinn with the Washington Commanders. And of course, we've done Gerard Mayo with the New England Patriots. So we've done all those. So please go back and check out those episodes because they'll give you great insight on what to expect with all of those teams and all of those respective schemes and all. But guys, please make sure you're subscribed. We're listening to your podcast. I mean, wherever you listen, just make sure you hit that subscribe button. Watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel as well. And guys, you see the ticker coming right down below. Follow us on our social media handles so you're always up to date with everything that's happening with our podcast. You got me at Of The Side 23. You got Tad at Tad The Side 94. Got the show handle at The Side Guys. And of course on Instagram at The Side Guys as well. So hit us up. What are your thoughts, especially, LAFB Network? Let us know your thoughts about Jim Harbaugh. Is there somebody that you think will succeed more in this offense compared to the guys that we listed out? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. Guys, like we talked about, we talked about the Chargers. Support our parent network at LAFB Network because they're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Chargers, the Rams at the professional level, and the Bruins and the Trojans when it comes to the college level. Lots of great content from them. We only scratched the surface on Jim Harbaugh. They probably have articles and many, many podcast episodes talking about Jim Harbaugh. So if you want more in-depth about Jim Harbaugh, go tune into the website and all their various social media handles and all their podcasts as well. And to everybody who's already listening to our podcast, who's watching our videos, who's interacting with us on social media, and just like everything that you're doing to support the podcast, we can't thank you enough.
And like Amir said, we are pushing out articles like no other. That is something that, Ryan Dyer...
LAFB Network is not...
I'm about to get on that.
Okay.
Ryan Dyer, company CEO, wants us to actually write more articles because all we do is this podcast. But what really pushes the traffic is articles. So he has a great team doing much better work than... I won't say Amir. He's a better writer than I am, but much better work than I could. And so if you want to keep track of those articles at LAFBnetwork.com, but also LAFB Network is on Reddit now, and every article gets pushed onto Reddit. So especially if you want to debate, let's debate. Let's get on Reddit. Let's do it. I'm down. But on top of that, you're running out of time if you want to, for me to keep this promise to you. You want us to talk about a topic? It's almost mid-June, which is very depressing. But, it's almost mid-June. We're almost at the preseason. That's when Amir and our schedules start filling up. If you want us to do a certain episode, if you want us to talk about a certain topic, it doesn't even have to be football. Like we said, if you want to talk about basketball, what's going on with the Lakers, I think we can definitely make time for that sometime this summer. But you got to let us know soon. So let us know on Instagram. Let us know on Twitter. We are definitely putting out that poll. What is it? No risk, no biscuit?
I said no risk it, no biscuit. That's Bruce Arians. But you were saying risk it, biscuit, or I don't know what you were.
No, it's risk it for the biscuit.
Oh.
So anyway, if you like to decide that argument, be sure to check us out on Twitter. And guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. Our numbers have been awesome recently, by the way, and it's all because of you guys. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please, as always, stay safe, everyone.